Well, there goes my World Cup predictions in the bin. But welcome back to the World Cup recap, day 26 of the tournament. 3/4 of the way past the last 16, and two more very intriguing matchups to get through today, both of them for various reasons. We'll start off with the first one being the heavyweight matchup between Portugal and Spain. Now, it's safe to say that these two teams are pretty familiar with each other. Going back to last year's Nations League final, where Portugal were able to stun Spain and win on penalties. And you would think that with that result for Portugal, even with a bad World Cup that they've had so far, could be enough for them to potentially get past Spain. A team that, as I've said before, we haven't really seen the best version of them quite yet. With Lamine Yamal only having just one goal in this tournament, Spain just keep winning, and they're doing it in sort of their classic way of not necessarily dominating teams, but taking control of the game and not letting go of it. And that would be sort of the theme today. If you're expecting an absolute blockbuster like we've seen in the last couple of days, especially with Mexico and England, you were mistaken, man. This game was anything but that. This was a straight up chess match. Both teams not really taking too much risk, more so worrying about their structure and obviously defending well. For Diogo Costa, it would be another busy outing for him in goal, stopping multiple Spain chances throughout the entire game. And as for the rest of his team, well, they couldn't really offer up much else. Ronaldo had two sort of half chances, but Simon wasn't really too troubled by them. And once again, this team just cannot seem to create anything special. Again, you would think with the likes of Bruno Fernandes, Vitinha, and João Neves, and even Nuno Mendes, that this team would be able to get anything going, but no. Once again, just pretty abysmal for their standards, if I'm being honest. And again, once Spain were able to settle themselves into the game, it never really felt like Portugal were going to get something by them, unless they got maybe some kind of penalty or whatever. It just never really seemed that way. Spain have been so well structured in this tournament, aching back to obviously their glory days of the 2010 World Cup. Obviously, that team had a lot more at their disposal, but this team is built the same way, where they're not built to dominate games and straight up dominate teams, but when they take control of a game, all they need is a one chance, one goal, and that could take them by. And that's pretty much all I was waiting for at this point. Whether it was going to be in normal time, extra time, it felt like Spain were just going to get something. But as I said, this game was not the prettiest of games from either side. This was genuinely one of the first games of this tournament where I walked away and I'm like, was there any standout performance? Was there any kind of standout player? I don't think there was. Now, I will say one thing. I think the changes that Spain made, especially in the later part of this game, was what really turned the tide. For as much disparagement as a guy like Ferran Torres has got throughout his time with Barcelona and the Spanish national team, I think what he does for this team is perfect. Because with how clinical the likes of Mikel Oyarzabal have been in this tournament, he's not necessarily relied on to be a goal-scoring threat. And what he does offer is a load of creativity. And that's exactly what Spain needed in the latter parts of this game. It was a bit risky taking off Dani Olmo and Pedri, but in the end, it obviously paid off because on the other side of them was Mikel Merino, who in his own right has also proven to be a very clinical player for Arsenal and Spain. His versatility and ability to cut those front lines, and that's exactly what he does here. Ferran Torres drops in behind. Mikel Merino makes the run in front, splitting the Portugal defense, and he slots it past Diogo Costa in the 91st minute of the game. Spain finally get their breakthrough, and that would be all they need to see off the Portuguese and advance to the next round. Again, these are the kind of victories that you can expect from Spain. You may look at other teams like France or Argentina. You'll see them scoring 2-3 goals a game. You're thinking those are the teams that are the real contenders for the World Cup. But Spain have always been the antithesis of that, of a team that controls games, so strong on that back line. They've now gone 5 straight games in this tournament without conceding a goal. In fact, the last time they conceded at a World Cup was all the way back in the third group game against Japan in 2022. This is what this Spain team has been predicated off in this tournament. Not so much the flashy attacking play that we saw in Euro 2024, although I do think some of that could be coming in the next couple of games. But even if it doesn't, Spain have proven that this is a viable strategy and a viable formula to win big games and to win the World Cup potentially. And once again, when you have those impact players that can come off your bench like Ferran Torres and Mikel Merino, it changes everything, and it proved it once again today. And Spain didn't even have to go too deep as far as what they have on their bench. Obviously, Nico Williams is still not 100%, Gavi as well. When those guys are in the fold as well, I mean, these guys are going to have almost endless options to choose from. And that's what I think makes Spain such a dangerous team in this tournament. They're a lot more sneaky in that sense, which again, if you look back at how they won the 2010 World Cup, you would see a similar pattern. A team that was very structured, very sturdy, did not necessarily dominate opponents based on the score lines, but they held things down, they did not concede, but most importantly, they would get results and they would win. This Spain team honestly just gives me that similar vibe. There's no standout player in this. It's everyone contributing. It's everyone coming together with a single goal in mind to bring the cup home to Spain for a second time. But now I gotta talk about Portugal. And all I'm going to say is, besides the fact that this was Ronaldo's last game in the World Cup, and I'll get into him a little bit as well, but for the sake of how this team has gone about this World Cup and how they performed, I'm glad that this is it for them. This was easily the worst Portugal World Cup performance since the 2010 World Cup. I know 2014 they didn't make it out of the group stage, but that team is genuinely terrible, and Ronaldo also wasn't at 100%. Funnily enough, those two World Cups ended the exact same way. Portugal losing 1-0 in the last 16 to Spain. Spain would go on to win in 2010, so maybe this is a similar pattern. But regardless, Portugal, once again, awful World Cup for them. Just awful. From failing to beat DR Congo to getting dominated by Colombia. Even the Croatia game, I'd say they were outplayed in that one. Again, very fortunate to not get pushed to extra time with that late goal that was canceled out. And then this game, once again, just so underwhelming, man. So underwhelming. Again, with all of that talent on display, and they just get nothing going. Only one game was this team able to fully get their attack going, especially with all the stars on it. And it's just like, what more evidence do you need to suggest that this team is clearly broken? From the man on the sidelines to the players on the pitch, there's just absolutely some kind of disconnect. Because take away the Uzbekistan game, this team scored 3 goals in 4 games. 3 goals, and only 2 from open play. Like I said, throughout periods of this tournament, going back all the way to the group stages, if you can't score goals, you are not going to win this tournament. Simple as that. Spain haven't scored a lot either, but they do help themselves by not conceding at all. But either way, this Portugal team, man, this was a abysmal performance throughout this entire tournament. And thankfully for them, they don't have to deal with Roberto Martinez, who I'm glad he's gone from that job. His comments after as well really rubbed me the wrong way, where he said that he only wanted to take this job so he could take this team to a World Cup. And now that he hasn't done that, it's my time to leave. Like, what is that? That just sounds like you never wanted to be here in the first place and you only wanted to do it just because, hey, they gave me an opportunity, may as well take it. Oh, I didn't do it. Okay, well, bye-bye. Like, what is that, man? Good riddance to him. I never want to see this guy managing another big World Cup team because he's done it twice now. First with the Belgian Golden Generation and now with this Portugal Golden Generation. Both those teams he squandered, and I swear if another team gives him a chance, then I don't even know what to say, man. At that point, just write your own obituary because you know that team's not going to win anything. The way that this team played, the way that they were set up, they were never set up to win that. But I will say this, though. I don't think that Roberto Martinez being as bad as he was should be a complete excuse for this team performing so badly. Because in the past, we have seen national teams led by less than competent managers that have gone far and have gotten results. Look at England under Gareth Southgate. They managed to go to back-to-back Euro finals. Even France with Didier Deschamps in the latter stages of his tenure, they managed to go to the World Cup final in 2022. Hell, I'll even mention Belgium as well in 2018 under Roberto Martinez. They made World Cup semifinals, beating the likes of Brazil, coming back against Japan. It is proven that maybe, no, not necessarily winning tournaments, that even with bad management, teams with plethora of talent could still overcome that. Why? Because they've got game changers, and those game changers step up when it matters most. You think of that 2018 Belgium team. Hazard was a game changer. De Bruyne, Lukaku, all those guys stepped up. France in 2022, Kylian Mbappe. He was such a difference maker. He got them all the way to the final and managed to come back scoring a hat-trick against Argentina. And then those England teams, you had the likes of Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham that would do that in various moments. But with this Portugal team, where are the game changers? Where are they? Bruno Fernandes set a Premier League record for assists this year with Manchester United. He's had one this tournament. Vitinha and João Neves have won back-to-back Champions Leagues for PSG and have been lauded as the best midfielders in the world. What have they done in this tournament other than passing backwards and sideways throughout the entire thing? Could also say the same thing for Nuno Mendes. I mean, he hasn't had the best tournament in comparison to his right-back compatriot who's leading Morocco to the quarterfinals again. And then of all of this going on, of course, it's Cristiano Ronaldo, the 41-year-old, that is taking all of the fall for it. Now, I'm not going to sit up here and act like Ronaldo is completely exempt from blame throughout Portugal's struggles and whatever, but to put pretty much all of this on him is just absolutely insane, man. What more did you want him to do? If you told me that Cristiano Ronaldo was going to score 3 goals in this World Cup, I would say that's a good World Cup. I know obviously with the context, it was 2 of them were against Uzbekistan and the other one was a penalty. Yeah, whatever. But again, 3 goals compared to in the 22 World Cup where he scored 1, which was a penalty, and the 2024 Euro where he scored none. He's had more goals in this tournament than in his last 2. And to me, that's fine. I think that's acceptable. But again, it's just about everybody else stepping up around him, which was absolutely not the case. And again, to put it all on him, I just don't understand it, man. I really don't. I get sometimes with the things that he says about how much he really cares about the World Cup and this and that it's easy to go at him for that, and I understand that. But at the same time, the finger needs to be pointed at the players that are not 41 years old, the players that are in the peak and prime of their careers, playing at such high level for their club teams, but yet it always has never translated to the national team and in the big stages like the World Cup or the Euros. It happens every time. And I say all this to say that obviously this is Ronaldo's last World Cup for Portugal. He said it himself. Shame that obviously it ended the way it did. I also will say that I think he's gone about it a lot better than I thought he would. I like what he said after about how he's given 23 years to this national team and that he's won them 3 trophies. They've won none before he came through, which is a fact. They've won 0 World Cups, 0 Euros, and yet he got them to the first one, then the other 2 Nations Leagues, which, cool, if you want to count those as well, great. But besides that, you cannot question the efforts of what this man has done for his country. He cares more about that than anything else. I cannot say the same for any one of these players. Straight up. In a week from now, all these guys are going to be back on their club teams, or they're going to be on vacations and yachts and thinking this is all great, right? And that's the thing about Portugal going forward. When Ronaldo's time with this national team is done, whether it's right now or if he's going to play with them for another cycle, possibly for another Euros, we'll see. And if this is it, then I cannot wait for what's going to happen after. Because if you look at the team in front of you, this Portugal team, do you see any leadership on this team? Do you see any guy that after Ronaldo leaves will step up and galvanize the team? I don't see it at all. I also don't see a team that is ready to handle the level of criticism and the level of scrutiny that Ronaldo has faced throughout these last couple of years. This guy has taken the brunt of it all, so that guys like Bruno Fernandes and Vitinha don't have to take a shred of it. But starting next World Cup, that's going to change. These guys have to be the one to answer to their performance. These guys have to be the one to answer to their efforts. These guys have to be the ones to answer for their commitment to their national team. And why after dominating with their club scene, looking so comfortable there, that when they go to the national team, they just completely fold. I'm ready for when that day comes, man. I really am. Because by then, we'll find out what the real problem is. And it's not going to be that 41-year-old that everyone thought was holding the team back. But as I said, that day will come around sometime in the near future. But yeah. For Ronaldo, once again, great for everything he's done for the national team. Fortunately, was not able to get past a very, very strong Spain team once again. And it's safe to say that he'll easily go down as the greatest player in football history to never win the World Cup. All right, moving on to the other game of the day, a very anticipated matchup for different reasons. We got to talk about the USA against Belgium. Now, first things first, I just want to kind of quickly sum things up in case you aren't fully in the loop of what has transpired over these last couple of days, even though, judging by the result, it's not really relevant anymore, but yeah. In the round of 16 matchup between the US and Bosnia, Fuller and Balogun and Tariq Mihajlovic collided around the 60th minute. It resulted in Balogun stepping on the foot of Mihajlovic, who went down in pain. As minutes went by, the referee was called on to do a VAR check and resulted in Balogun being sent off. Admittedly, it was a harsh decision considering both players were in the mix of it, both players going on the ball. I've already addressed that in my video if you want to go watch it, but suffice to say, this was bad news for the U.S. Not only were they down to 10 men in that game, but they would be losing Fuller and Balogun in a quarterfinal matchup against Belgium. From there, I thought, that's that. You know, Balogun's going to be out for that game. The U.S.'s chances of winning go probably lower, and that's the end of that. Until a few days ago, when it was announced by FIFA that Fuller and Balogun would be reinstated for the quarterfinal against Belgium under Article 27, which... go look that up if you want to. I'm not going to get super technical, but to sum it up, FIFA said there was some kind of miscommunication and that there shouldn't have been a VAR check and this and that. And for whatever reasons that they could come up with, Balogun would have a suspension, basically, and he would be able to play in the quarterfinal. From there, all hell broke loose because shortly after, it was revealed that high-ranking government officials in the U.S., including the president himself, personally made the calls to Gianni and FIFA to have a look at the incident and to take away the suspension, which obviously happened. I mean, Trump said it himself in the press conference that he didn't agree with the call and the referee was shady and that he wanted Gianni to look at it, which they did. Gianni obviously tried to cover face in a statement by saying that it was the independent committee that made the decision, not him, and that he doesn't take advice from government officials, which we all know that's a lie. And then in the lead-up to the game, we had obviously the Belgian FA weighing in, saying that they were going to investigate. FIFA said, no, you can't investigate. Then they're like, okay, well, if he's going to play, then we're going to take all action. There was rumors of them potentially not playing the game, or they were going to intentionally not win so that they could overturn it. Even the Swiss FA was coming in. So much happened. All of it is extremely, extremely dumb. It all is. And I say dumb not just because of what ended up happening, but because FIFA and this are just absolutely in the wrong. Now, if the US were to win this game, I would be extremely upset. But that's not the case because Belgium, whatever they did, used all the fuel in the world and absolutely put BTA on the US. To the absolute delight of every neutral, they finally showed up in a high-stakes game when it matters most. Never thought I'd say that about Belgium, but at the same time, I don't know if I'll give them a ton of credit. Yes, they were the better team in every sense. Yes, they put 4 goals past them, but let's be honest here. This performance said a lot more about the team they played against than Belgium themselves. Although I don't want to take anything away from Belgium because these last couple of games, they've really turned heads. After going scoreless in their first 2 games, Belgium have now scored 11 goals in their last 3 games, which now puts them second in the World Cup scoring charts. For teams, that is, not individual players. But speaking of individual players, Kevin De Bruyne and Jeremy Doku were bench heading into this game. Very shocked by that. There was a part of me that was thinking, what is Belgium doing? But in the end, they might have found something here. Because Dodi Lukebakio looked a lot more threatening on that right-hand side than Jeremy Doku has this entire tournament. And obviously we saw the likes of Yuri Tielemans and eventually Hans Vanaken, who came off after Amadou Onana suffered a pretty bad-looking knee injury. But yeah, those guys were great. Shada Ketsalar got to keep his starting spot, and I don't think he's losing that for the rest of the tournament based on how he played. Great stuff from him. Absolutely rinsing Tim Ream. And yeah, not much else to say other than Belgium took care of business and they're going to the quarterfinals once again. If you asked any Belgium fan heading into this tournament if they were going to get that far, I don't think they would have believed you. But here they are. They made it. They, for once, performed to or maybe a little past their expectations. I'll probably say to their expectations considering the fact that they've beaten Senegal and the US. It's not like they've beaten a team that they were vastly picked against. I mean, I get maybe the US was probably a favorite going in, but I mean, that just seems like a fever dream now. And yeah, we'll see what they can do against Spain, man. The toughest test for Spain going against an attack that is completely on form right now. And obviously for Belgium's case, that defense is not going to be anything like the US's, man. My goodness. But I think it's about time we talk about the US in here. And all I got to say is that was easily the worst performance I've seen from any team at this World Cup. What was that? I'm not going to yell and scream because I'm not actually that mad. I'm actually overjoyed that this team ended up folding once again. See, this is the thing with U.S. soccer fans, right? A lot of them kind of jump on the bandwagon around World Cup time. It usually happens that way. They'll see them beat Paraguay 4-1. They'll think, this team's going places. They'll see them beat Australia. We're going to win the World Cup. They'll lose to Turkey, a team that's better than them. And they'll say, oh, but that game didn't matter. It's okay. We're still winning the whole thing. They beat Bosnia. Oh yeah, no one's stopping this team. And then they got absolutely outdone by a team that is miles better than them. It happens every time. The U.S. beats opponents that they're supposed to beat. Everyone completely overreacts at that. And finally they come up against a good team, a team that is more proven and more well-versed than them. And they get absolutely smashed to pieces. How shocked was I that this happened? Not at all. Now, I was shocked in sort of how bad it was. I expected Belgium to be the better team and to get the result. But the way this went down, this is an awful look, man. This is such a bad look for the U.S., man. The first goal, giveaway on the header, Tim Ream getting absolutely rinsed on the first two goals by Shota Ketsalara. The free kick by Malik Tillman was a deflection. Just want to point that out. Good for Malik. I think he's generally the only player that can walk away from that game and say, I did my part. Not that it matters, but he did his thing. He's easily been their best and most consistent player throughout the tournament. I just got to point that out because I know it's all about Balogun and Pulisic and whatever. Malik Tillman's their guy. If the U.S. is smart, they got to build their team around him. He's really, really good. Again, really good get. Almost went to Germany. Really good get. Second half. You would think that after halftime, after how dominated they were, to be only down a goal, that's fortunate. Very, very fortunate. And then Matt Freese. I mean, wow. Just wow. I mean, you couldn't have come up with a better way for the U.S. to lose than what they did. Not only did they lose, but that Matt Freese moment will live in infamy in the history of the U.S. soccer. And again, I couldn't be happier watching it. Could not be. I was grinning side to side on my face. Absolutely loving it. And then Romelu Lukaku in the end finishing it off from another defensive mistake. And he let the crowd know how they felt about this whole thing. They wanted all the smoke. They were up for it. They used all of what was happening to fuel them in this game. The U.S., on the other hand, put it simply, the moment got too big for them. Also, this team has never performed against European sides. I don't know why people were acting so surprised. This team got blown out by Switzerland last year. They got blown out by Belgium already in March. Why was anyone surprised that this was the result? Like, I get Belgium is a mess, and they usually fall over themselves in World Cups. But we saw that Senegal game, how they were able to pick themselves up from the dead. If you thought that Belgium was just going to revert back to first half against Senegal, you were mistaken. Belgium found something in those last few minutes that they've been able to carry over into this game, and who knows how much that can carry them throughout the rest of the tournament. It was the same thing in 2018 when they came back against Japan. They played Brazil next game, and they dominated them from start to finish. It was the same thing here. Same thing. And like I said, if the U.S. are smart, which when it comes to soccer, I don't think they are, this needs to be a wake-up call. For everyone saying that, oh, it's okay, oh, this team's got a bright future. They said the same thing in 2014, and look what happened 4 years later. You absolutely cannot repeat that mistake. You can't. This is a wake-up call for the U.S. Things have to change. This is not good enough. Cool, you beat Paraguay and Australia and Bosnia. If those were friendly games, no one would care. No one would care. At this stage, with how hyped this team has been throughout this tournament, this was a chance to make a statement. And they completely folded. For all the talk of Fuller and Balogun, he had one shot in 90 minutes. Big difference maker he was. You guys had your government, your president, move eons, move mountains, break rules, straight up, just to get you the advantage in this game. And that's what you delivered. Just awful. That goes on the players 100%. Pochettino, I mean, could blame him as well, but at the same time, I don't know what more he could have done. He's not going to be with this team going forward. I can guarantee you that. He's got one foot out already looking for a job in Europe. So, US, have fun looking for your next coach, because that will pretty much determine if you're going to be here 4 years from now or not. I really hope it's the latter, but we'll see. But again, to sum it all up, US, that was the most embarrassing display of any team in this tournament. Outclassed, outdone from start to finish, couldn't complete a pass, couldn't stop turning the ball over, and couldn't stop falling over yourselves as Belgium got in your box. And that's that. Or as you guys say, that's game. Oh, and one last thing. FIFA and Gianni, I really hope you had a lot of fun watching that game. Can't wait to see what his explanation will be to his buddy, you know, when he asked about what went wrong in that game and how they're going to cook up something else to get the U.S. somehow back into this tournament, because at this point, the door is just wide open, man. And the fact that a decision like that can be made, it's so unprecedented. I don't want to sound shocked, because I'm not. It's FIFA. This is the stuff that they do, but like it's right in front of your face. If you don't see what's going on, like I don't know what to tell you, man. I really don't. At this point, anything goes. Any high rank government official can call up and say, "Hey, I want this player back for the next game," and theoretically that could be done, right? All right? This is what you've done, FIFA. This is what you've done. So yeah, that result was for you. Lukaku's celebration at the end, that was for you. Football won today. Justice prevailed, and we all couldn't be happier to witness it on a global stage. And that is going to be it for this day of the World Cup. We've got one more day of round of 16 games. They start quite early, so I'll try to get this out before some of them get going, but we'll see. But thanks so much for watching and all the support on the recent videos. It's been amazing. Make sure to like and subscribe for daily World Cup content. And from here on out, we're going to get a completely ethical World Cup with absolutely no controversies in FIFA with their little fingers all over it. Let's play football.